Just 2 races remain in the 2024 British GT Championship. Welcome to a rather damp Donington. Qualifying about to get underway for that penultimate race of the season. It was a wet and rather horrible first free practice session. Pre-qualifying was no better because that was wet as well. At least now the teams don't have too much traffic to worry about. As for qualifying, they're segregated into GT3 in 2 parts, then GT4, and it's the GT3 teams for Q1 that are going to be on track first of all. Remember, you are aggregating the times of the 2 drivers. David Addison and Joe Osborne are trackside. Bryn Lucas is down in the pit lane. And Joe, it's going to be interesting this really, not necessarily to see the pace of drivers, but how quickly the road dries and how much of an effect the track surface is going to have.
Yeah, it's still not in the optimal condition by any stretch of the imagination, so the track is only going to get better. The drivers will know that, so they want to go as late as they can in their respective sessions. But then the problem with a red flag is the rain coming in. We are hearing there's rain in the air. The qualifying sessions are being declared wet from race control, so that means the teams can put wets on if they want, but at the moment it's definitely slick weather, and it's just whether you go early or you go late.
But they've only got 10 minutes, so it's a 2.5 mile lap. You, yes, want to go late, but equally you want to do at least an out lap. You want 1 lap to get some warmth into the tyres. You don't need to do a tyre cross, but you're rapidly running out of time, because even by the time you get to your first flying lap, you could well be halfway through those 10 minutes.
Yeah, quite easily. By the time you've done your out lap, maximum you've got is 5 flyers. Yeah. So like you're saying, strategy-wise, it's hard. I had a race here 4 years ago, exactly the same conditions in qualifying, and I got the engineer to crank up the tyre oven to maximum. Everything was glowing orange and red, and it was to get those tyres as hot as possible, almost too hot. But by the time they got to the track, it gave me a longer window for the tyre to be warm and do something with. And that's what I'm worried about. All these cars sat in the fast lane, concentrating on track position, are losing temperature so quickly. As soon as the tyre touches the tarmac, it ekes out so fast. I think those guys have probably lost a lap just getting the tyre temp back up.
The flip side of the coin, you can perhaps understand what they're thinking, which is if we go first, we get track position. But around a 2.5 mile lap like this, maybe traffic isn't quite the problem that you might have anticipated. As Joe says, all these qualifying sessions have been declared wet. That means that the tyre choice is down to the teams. There is something new. The livery isn't. It's redolent to the 1998 Le Mans winning Porsche. But Ian Logie and 2Cs switched from Mercedes to Porsche, and that is the livery, pretty much. Carried that year by Alan McNish, by Laurent Aiello, by Stefan Ortelli to win at Le Mans. It's an ex-Team Parker Racing chassis, but it's great to have Porsche back. The last time a Porsche had a win in British GT, 2014. Time has flown.
Yeah, and do you know who was one of the drivers?
Phil Keane.
Exactly.
Because he was co-driver to John Minshaw.
It was a match made in heaven, and yeah, Ian Logie taking a bit of a punt, can't win the championship this year, quite cleverly moving almost before the end of the season finishes, thinking about next year already, as we see the Ram BMW getting a brand new set of slicks on. All of these guys ran a set in pre-qualifying, so they've got a good understanding, but the evolution of the track with the weather being thrown is going to really be difficult for these AMs. You can see those new Pirellis, the mould marks, the releasing agent on Andrew Howard's 97 Aston Martin Evo. We haven't seen the best of this manufacturer this year, had we? We saw a quick car at Spa British GT, it then went and won Spa 24 Hours, the CrowdStrike race, but we haven't seen it at the front end like we're used to in British GT.
But last year, after the track here had been resurfaced, it was in its element, and Andrew Howard saying how much better the car was around Donington. So let's see what he can do. The queue is forming. Just going back to Ram Racing, Max Hesse, remember, drove at Snetterton. It seems a long time ago that we were there in July for the most recent round of the championship. Max Hesse continues. Raffaele Marciello has posted on social media this week, in his own words, pretty much a parting of the ways. I think he described the way he operates and the way the team works being rather incompatible. So Max Hesse is in for this weekend and maybe for Brands Hatch for the finale as well. Green flag shown at the end of the pit lane. We are in business then for Q1. Yes, there are times in isolation to worry about, but when we get to Q2, we're adding them together for the front of the grid.
Yeah, look at these drivers teaming onto the track as fast as they can at this first point. They'll find their gap later on, but you can see the dry patch. It's that darker, more matte-looking surface, and the drivers on this outlap, obviously not timed, it's not competitive, they will be having their eyes on stalks, looking for where the grip is. Is it on the traditional racing line? Is it slightly wider? Are the curbs usable? There is an almost infinite amount of questions a driver needs to self-ask, so when they attack, first time round on a push lap, they know where they need to be.
Now, what's the Barwell plan here? Everybody else has gone. Are they trying to buy themselves track position in terms of going out, let's say, half a lap late, or are they, we're about to find out, they're not going to wait much longer, are they, because the lollipops are moved? So out goes Alex Martin. Now Rob Collard is going to go. You were talking about people maybe going out later. They have gone out later, but only by half a lap. That buys them the track space. Yeah,
top team Barwell, they will have their plan, but they'll also be doing it on the fly. They'll have the GPS trackers out, and they can see that they have now got a good 500-600 meters of clear track, where these cars have 5 or 6 meters of clear track. So then it's down to the driver. They're very good, these AMs these days, but in a high pressure situation, are they good enough to find their own space? Do they crumble? Look at that. That would say they're not finding their own space, as Ian Loggy is on the damp bit. I thought he was going in the side of Howard there, and it looks like Carl Caves in that BMW doesn't want to concede. Andrew Howard thinks, I want to get out of this and I want to try and find some space, but Loggy super aggressive as we go to Kevin Say, the first man and the man with the most amount of space. Let's see what we can get into lap time wise early on.
So Kevin Say across the timing line in number 18, the 2Cs Motorsport Mercedes. So in other words, 2Cs operating cars of different brands within GT3. And certainly Ian Loggy being very aggressive to try to get himself up through the traffic, then coming down to the Melbourne hairpin on that previous lap. So Kevin Say, the man from Macau, he's been a winner in British GT this year at Spa. He inherited the win last time out at Snetterton. He's won in the past at Alton Park, and he makes his way now towards McLean's. You can see how the road is drying, but it's drying slowly, isn't it? Because we've not had that much rain for probably over an hour and a half or so. And although we've had a couple of races of late, they've not done a great deal to dry the road.
No, somehow the weather's almost the worst it can be here. It's warm, muggy, but just hanging in the air. And we've had just drizzle all day. The wind isn't high, so for optimal drying conditions, it is not there right now. These AMs in a normal, perfect condition day, I think would want to be in the 1:26s. I think we're going to be a couple of seconds shy of that at the moment. It's whether anyone really rolls the dice and risks it for their optimal performance. But if they go too far and crash the car and their teammate doesn't get in, they're going to start last. And that is the beauty of aggregate qualifying. You've got to find that perfect balance of risk versus reward. This last corner looking particularly slippy. You can see the cars not committing to a late brake, almost having to come off the brake. You see the nose of the car pitch back up, and it really looks like Kevin Say has maybe been a little cautious there. 1:31 for him. Petrobelli ups him by 0.8 of a second, also in the 31. So yeah, these should be in the 26s, 27s in a perfect condition. I think we're going to take the full 6.5 minutes that we've got remaining to get anywhere near that.
Yeah, 1:27 was the best lap as off the road and struggling for traction. There goes Mike Price. 1:27.9 Callum McLeod in that green Mercedes in FP1, and it was a 36.2 from Tom Gamble, showing how much wetter pre-qualifying had become. So Joe is absolutely right. These times have a long way to go to the absolute optimum. As you see, number 10, Matt Topham, now is topping the times from another of the Aston, Giacomo Petrobelli. John Ferguson has just gone third, but as the road dries, it could well be that the last car across the line takes the top time.
Yeah, top 4 cars, all front engine. They love these conditions. It turns the front tyre on quicker. We go on board with Martin, got a mid-engine, so the front axle just isn't as heavy, doesn't turn the tyre on. He does that into the 28s though, so that's where it should be.
Yeah.
Barwell leaving a bit later, the tyres were hotter. What's Rob Collard got? No purple sectors, and he is slightly off, 0.8 slower than the sister car that just went, but that is where I expect the lap times to be. And I think Barwell have helped their drivers by keeping those tyres hotter for longer.
Got to say, Alex Martin has been, for my money, one of the revelations of British GT this year. When we've seen him in the past in the British Touring Car Championship for a year or in Carrera Cup, he never looked that sparkling, with all due deference. But in a GT car, he's absolutely found his home, hasn't he?
Yeah, I'd agree with that. And he's been really good. Barwell have been singing his praises too. And in the sister car, Rob Collard has almost got to be the benchmark AM. So yes, I think he's been lucky with that. He's had some great data from that car, and also his teammate Sandy Mitchell, arguably the quickest pro over the years so far. Matt Topham, we're looking at here. Purple sector 2 doesn't look like he's having a particularly attack sector 3. I wonder if he's more concentrated and setting up, as we see Alex Martin on 2 purple sectors.
Within the AMs, you've got Sean Balfe as well, who might argue about the benchmark AM, bearing in mind he's one of the more experienced, but he's already this year's Silver AM champion, along with Adam Smalley. There you've got the car of Alex Martin with purple sector, followed by purple sector. He is the fastest, and let's see what he can do then, because the best lap that he's done so far is a 1:28.738, and this really want to get him into the 27s, if not better. Tyres hotter, road drier, breaks the beam, 27.9. He was down in that last sector by a touch, but even so, Alex Martin remains the man to beat.
Yeah, great on board as well. You can see how confident he was around the Melbourne hairpin. You have the car moving around, traction control working, but he was quite happy there. As you see, Petrobelli on the attack, something we don't normally say in a qualifying session, but Kevin Say, 7th at the moment, Petrobelli in 3rd. But because of these conditions, we're seeing a bigger delta than usual. Petrobelli is 2nd a lap faster. He's obviously made the decision, I need to keep pushing and clear Kevin Say rather than back off and find a gap. They're both looking like they're going to improve their times. Kevin Say up to 5th. Petrobelli stays where he was, but did improve to 28.5. He is only 6/10 of a second off, but we only have 3.5 minutes remaining.
And you've got Rob Collard having done an absolute best within the first sector. This is Sean Balfe, who improved last time up to 8th. Carl Cavers has just gone 9th. Sean Balfe in the Duckham's liveried Garage 59 round McLaren is on target to improve on this lap, but so is Rob Collard, although he's yet to get to the end of the middle sector. So Balfe in the McLaren is the first one of note. His son Thomas racing here this weekend in Ginettas, and of course he had 2 wins at Snetterton recently. And Sean Balfe's lap is going to be ever so slightly compromised, is it not, because he's got himself in traffic. Richard Neary in the Mercedes is just ahead of him, and Richard Neary is penultimate in the times and doesn't improve. Balfe goes up to 6th, and Collard has done 2 purples, 2 absolute best in the sectors. Here he is with 1 more corner to go. So Rob Collard already the fastest on a 27.889 from his previous lap. Can we get him into the 26s by the end of the session? That might be too tall an order, but a low 27 maybe. 27.6, quicker still to hang on to pole position in Q1.
Yeah, 3/10 clear now of his teammate Martin. They are still falling the times, but everyone now has only got 2 more laps maximum to do, so it's really disappeared from us, the time in this session. Matt Topham up to 3rd as well. Andrew Howard in another Aston Martin. Smith and then Tilbrook slightly lower down than he would want. Currently P7, 1.8 seconds off. He has improved. Can he get within a second? That's what we're used to. Top 12, 13 cars being within a second around Donington. Big slide, look at the opposite lock. He had to crank on there. Matt Topham, purple in sector 2. We're getting so many varied sectors, aren't we? The tyres hanging on a little bit longer because the track is only getting better. Tilbrook looking to square it off. 1 minute 57, so he's going to squeeze another 2 laps in. What's he going to do? Is he going to lift himself up? He does. It stays in 8th position. Did improve his lap time, but not his position.
Topham goes up to 2nd on a 127.8. So it is Collard, Topham, Martin. Drivers getting themselves ready for Q2, 3 cars within the 127s. We talked about these conditions. I think you said earlier on they're about as bad as they can be in terms of dampness of road, humidity and all of that. And there's also this old adage about Donington, because it's so close to East Midlands Airport and aircraft dropping fuel, fully wet, fully dry, not a problem. That in-between is pretty horrible. Some drivers say it's true, some drivers say it's an old wives' tale.
I think it's got to be right, otherwise all these airlines would go bankrupt if they're just dumping fuel, and the crops round here would give you 6 fingers and stuff. So I've never bought into that one. It was always the old surface. As soon as they resurfaced it, it was okay. So I think it was the previous owners being too tight and not wanting to spend the money on tarmac.
Allegedly.
And just pass the blame somewhere else, essentially. We look at Carl Cavers on 2 green sectors, all the way down in 15th at the moment. Carl doing a lot of pre-season testing, a lot of racing in the Middle East. Started well, they just haven't quite got that BMW to the heights it did last year with Darren Lung and obviously Dan Harper winning the championship. So they're struggling a little bit, but I'd expect Carl Cavers to be easily inside the top 10. Can he do it on this lap? He's about to start his last lap. He goes P13.
Ian Loggy behind, stays 11th, so the Porsche looks good, but it's not yet delivering. We've seen Ian in the past driving Carrera Cup GB. Rob Collard goes through, or will go through in a moment. He's into the last sector. Absolute best, personal best. He's almost knocking on the door of a 26, isn't he? But it might well be that some Ricky is able to do that in Q2. That car looking absolutely on the edge. Rob Collard, always an exciting driver to watch. A little bit of opposite lock needed. He's not leaving anything on the table here because he knows it's his last lap, knows it's his last chance. Checkered flag is now out. So Rob Collard's last lap, he's quick-est, but those ahead of him on the road might go faster. And those that have sneaked through, of course, have got another lap to go. So Barwell celebrate at the moment that he and Martin are 1 and 2, Rob Collard quickest, but there are others still out there that could spoil the party.
Yeah, Kevin Sayre having a huge slap of oversteer under braking there. I should just touch the curb, which unsettled one side of the car, and you can see this corner with Collard we're watching, he overcooked it and messed up that lap that could have gone even faster. What's Kevin Sayre got? His P4 at the moment, crosses the line. Does he improve? Oh no, all the way. Didn't see that coming on the sectors.
Perfect. No absolute bests, but provisional pole for Kevin Sayre. 3 personal bests and all strung together. That's where Barwell have lost out. They sent the cars out late, but in terms of track position against the flag, one more lap, Collard no doubt would have gone quicker. No guarantee that Kevin Sayre is going to remain the fastest because there are others still pushing. Let's see what they can do. Even if you drop a little bit of time in one sector, if your tyres are good in the other 2, you might be able to salvage something. Matt Topham's an improver, 127.4. It looks, yeah, Mike Price up to 4th. That's a significant improvement, despite the fact he was down in sector 1. Well, Kevin Sayre has taken the flag, he's gone quickest, and that was quite a lap.
Amazing. Like I said, the sectors almost hid what was going to happen, and it was just consistency, no mistakes, hooking it all up. The track was only getting better. We knew that at the start of the session, and you're right, Barwell finding their space, lost themselves an extra lap. They're the only cars in the top 8 or 9 that have done 6 time laps rather than 7, and it was that 7th one that was lucky for Kevin Sayre, which has given him provisional pole position in this session. But let's remember, it's an aggregate. We're halfway through.
So after Q1, it is Kevin Sayre, the fastest, by just 23 thousandths of a second from Rob Collard. Alex Martin taking 3rd and Mike Price 4th. 5th quickest Matt Topham from Giacomo Petrobelli. Morgan Tilbrook next, and John Ferguson, Sean Balfe, and then Mark Smith to round out the top 10. Mark Radcliffe 11th, ahead of Richard Nearing, whose car went off in pre-qualifying. He's had a tough Q1. Carl Cavers next from Sasha Kakad. Ian Loggy and Andrew Howard, 2 stalwarts of British GT, are only 15th and 16th. Silver Am honours thus far claimed by Matt Topham 5th. Josh Rowledge will take over the car for Q2. Well, we don't often get Macanese drivers on pole position at Donington, but there's no guarantee we will yet, because Q2 is to come, and as we keep making the point, it's an aggregation of the times. Look at the highlights though of Q1, with the drivers going out onto a damp but drying circuit, and lap after lap, car after car, the road getting that little bit drier. Rob Collard looking quick early doors, and quick he was, but not quite quick enough. Alex Martin was another driver who was being able to command the top time briefly, and as the road continued to dry, times continued to drop. Ultimately, it was Kevin Sayre who was able to squeeze one more lap out than the Barwell Lamborghinis, and he went fastest. Now, there is one car that is being investigated after the session, Sean Balfe and Adam Smalley's car, something to do with the checkered flag. Now, did it take the checkered flag twice? Can't think of any other checkered flag related infringement. Yeah, when we were watching him very close behind Neary with 3 minutes to go, I made a mental log that he was going to be tight, where he was going to squeeze another lap in doing 1:30s. Right. So that would be my guess, that he thought he was clear, but maybe he wasn't. And the race officials are very keen on people not going round and round and taking the flag more than once. So this is the car to beat. Kevin Sayre has done kind of the hard yards thus far. Now you bang in a Mercedes factory driver, and Maxi Gertz, I think it's fair to say, had a tough Alton Park, but he's now had 2 wins in the championship. He's getting his head together, if you like, in terms of British GT, what the format is like, what the circuits are like, the people he's racing against, many of whom are new. And don't bet against that car now securing pole position, because we know how good Gertz is. Yeah, and especially with all the Nürburgring experience, you get all of these conditions, don't you, over the lap there. So he'll be quite confident with it. Tom Gamble on pole position for the pro session when we came to Donington early in the year, but also be confident. But I think really with how tight these pros are, it's going to be difficult for anyone outside the top 5 to really make a difference. Ricky Collard sent out much sooner this time. Barwell are keeping back the Sandy Mitchell car. That's Kevin Sayre, who's just gone quickest in Q1. There, Ricky Collard, who's a real live wire, good character is Ricky, ex-single-seater racer, ex-touring car racer, and he makes his way down through the Craner curves. But Kevin Sayre is currently the fastest driver, and he's with Bryn Lucas.
Well, Kevin, you left it very, very late, but how about that snatching it with such a fine deficit?
I actually have no idea inside the car. I was very worried because I was making a lot of mistakes in the first few laps. The track is not 100% dry, so I went offline in a few corners, and it was really twitchy and really tricky. But yeah, in the last lap, I told myself to calm a bit down, get the braking points right, and yeah, and somehow I got pulled by, I think, just slimmest of margin. So yeah, that's good.
We've seen you do it before around here. We've seen you do some amazing things so far this season. You've set it up perfectly for a good start here tomorrow. It's just in the hands of Max now.
Yeah, Max will be mega fast. So let's see if we can put it on pole this time.
Let's watch and see what happens. Thanks. Thanks, Rich.
Right, so Kevin Say does what we all do, looks at the timing screens for the next 10 minutes or so. There is Tom Gamble. We know how good he is, so Gamble turning his way now through Redgate. The Gambles, of course, busy racing family because the youngest of them, Harry, is also racing here in Ginettas, and middle brother George racing in Carrera Cup, back after touring cars. So the Gamble family, prolific racers, and local circuit. They're Nottingham based, aren't they?
Yeah, exactly that. And he'll be a little disheartened. Mark Radcliffe, his teammate, looked strong at the start of that quali, but ended up 1.3 off Kevin Say there. So it's going to be hard for Tom to really get this car, in my opinion, much higher than 6th or 7th. So as a pro, where did your head go? Do you go, well, what's the point? I'll just give up. Or do you go, actually, there's nothing to lose. I'm just going to send it and hopefully be the fastest in my session, and I can put that on Instagram later. He is getting compromised. He was one of the early ones out, wasn't he? Max Hesse doing a good job getting out of his way. He has got some more cars to potentially contend with on the end of this lap, one of them being Maxi Gott's provisional pole. Look how close he was to this tyre stack there. I was here last week testing in another Optimum car, sister car to that, and Tom is so committed through that chicane, but the tyre stack does not move, and it can create a lot of damage, which a lot of cars found in testing last week.
And we had a couple of weeks ago in a different race meeting here with lots of cars glancing off them, and even in racing thus far here this weekend, 1 or 2 scares at the S's, the Fogarty S's. Right, Tom Gamble pulls the pin coming out of Goddard's. He seemed to go very deep into the corner. He offers up the target time, and even by going deep at 1:27.3, ain't too shabby.
No, he gave it up though, that last corner on purpose. Knew he was going to get compromised, knows the tracks only get better, so he was getting a good exit to then go for another lap. As we look at Hugo Cook in a great bit of space, Audi going well, obviously very similar to the Lamborghini, goes second, 26.9, just slightly slower than Lewis Plato, who's currently on a 26.932 as we go to Sandy Mitchell. The thing we've seen with Sandy this year in this Barwell Lambo is it just keeps getting faster and faster, whereas most pros get a lap or 2 and then the tyre drops off. It just starts to harden, it loses that initial compound grip. Sandy Mitchell gets it on lap 4 or 5, and it'll be interesting to see if he can keep that theme going today.
What you have on that graphic, clip of the tyre stack by Sandy Mitchell, is the combined, so not necessarily the fastest within this session at the moment. It does happen to be Ricky Collard, but it's the combined order that you're looking at. So Collard from Rowledge from Clutton, Rowledge having taken over from Matt Topham, Marcus Clutton from Morgan Tilbrook, and 4th is Johnny Adam, who's taken over from Giacomo Petrobelli. Sam Neary goes through and is the fastest within this part of the session, briefly. Sandy Mitchell, though, now quickest on aggregate.
This car is about to do a low 25, I think, if he hasn't messed up the last sector. This is going to be absolutely rapid, 25.8, so not quite as quick as I thought, but 2 of the purple sectors, and gets that car up to 5th place overall.
Maxi Goetz, though, is now the fastest on the aggregated times. Tom Gamble is quickest in Q2, but on aggregate, it's Maxi Goetz. Here is Phil Keane in the Porsche that flattered to deceive, rather, in Q1, and improves, but only to 14th. Tom Gamble, though, absolute best first sector, and this is the charging Sam Neary, the ubiquitous ABBA commercials Mercedes that has done so many miles, whether it's been in British GT or GT Cup, and we know that Sam is very quick. We know that Richard is quick as well, given the right brakes in his stint, so it's always a car to watch that.
Yeah, and it was damaged in pre-qualifying, Richard having a small off. Actually went down there and Richard was on the tools himself. There's not many AMs and GT3 car owners that would fix their own car and do a good job. But yeah, I guess with his experience in making Land Rover Defenders bomb-proof than making a Mercedes AMG GT go fast, it's probably a little simpler. Balance of the car looking good. Can't see any snap of oversteer. Front end seems to get in well. Traction looking pretty nice as well. Sam about to cross the line. Can he pull that car up any higher? He does 1 place, but only up to 13th.
So Sam Neary then, an improver, and Tom Gamble is heading towards the end of Sector 3. This is Maxi Goetz, who is up to 2nd on the aggregated times now. Max Hesse goes through for Ram Racing and puts number 15 BMW 5th. And in the background, Callum McLeod in the green Mercedes looks quick as he comes onto the pit straight. And that car is currently 4th fastest. Behind there is Phil Keane. Sam Neary rather has had a lap time disallowed. The lap counts as having been done. You must do 2 timed laps. You can lose the time, but the lap counts as having been completed, if that makes sense. So you don't have to keep going and going and going to get the 2. Even if you lose the time, you keep the lap towards that 2-lap allocation.
Yeah, and I think we just saw the end of it when we cut to him actually on that shot coming out of McLean. He looked very, very wide. Johnny Adam looking like he's going okay. Max Hesser actually done the fastest lap of this session as well when we saw him cross the line last. Johnny Adam looking pretty good as well. Sam Neary is actually on a purple sector too, as you just said there, David, to me. So the car's still going well. Johnny Adam getting that car up to 6th. The Aston Martins looking a little racier than they have previously. A little bit of interest there. Look at the manufacturers, they're all grouping together. The Astons, the McLarens, even the Lambos and the Mercedes at the front end. So what's Sam Neary got here? Max Hesser on an absolute monster sector 2 there. It'd be amazing to see if that was legal track limits wise, because that is quite a long way clear of anyone else. He is going to get a bit of traffic though as we cut to him. That massive BMW looming over Tom Gamble's Optimum McLaren. Is he going to be able to improve his time from a 25.6 and slightly quicker, another 25.6, but still stays in 5th on the combined times?
So, with 2.5 minutes to go on the combined times, the aggregated times, it's the Collards ahead of Gertzen, Say, Mitchell and Martin. And the best time of this session is a 25.6, proving how much drier it's become, courtesy of Max Hesser. Phil Keane and Ian Loggy, neither of them really sparkling in the Porsche, sadly, because it looks great. There you've got Sandy Mitchell. He and Alex Martin looking for yet another victory, and for Barwell and Sandy Mitchell a 3rd straight Donington win as well it would be. Lamborghini factory driver, don't forget Sandy Mitchell, and for him it's a local circuit these days, because although he's Scottish, he's based in Nottingham, so he comes down now to the S's, the nose of the car dips, flicks it through, perhaps more than anybody. His commitment through the S's stands out, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, the whole corner looked like a crash waiting to happen, exactly. And he hung on to it. It was a green sector 1 for him, and 2, I don't know if that chicane, which is in sector 3, was going to be quicker than what he's done. But as a combined time, he's in 3rd, but he's only 0.08 away from pole position. So he does need to find over a 10.5 to get that to be double, obviously, to negate that. But he's looking quick, and this will be his last lap, though. What can he do? 25.9. The car does stay in 3rd overall.
He'd already had 1 lap taken off him for track limit offences. Maxi Gertz then comes through, trying to get himself top, still can't do it. So down in the middle and down in the last sector as well. On the aggregated times, it's 36 thousandths between them. So you take 2 different drivers, 2 different track surfaces to a degree, and 36 thousandths is the margin. So it shows how competitive the championship is. Look at the background to see what Phil Keane can do. 15th as he comes up to the line. There down at the Melbourne hairpin is Adam Smalley, and is 8th fastest. Phil Keane didn't go any faster, so he's still stuck 15th, and the flag will be out within the next minute. And the McLaren, I think, has backed it right off, hasn't it? Adam Smalley, Carrera Cup GB champion last year, looking for track space.
Yeah, I think he's given up completely. How slow he's going, the tyre temperature drops, so I expect him to box. I wonder if he's got a problem, he's going so slowly. Be interested to find out on that one. People still pushing some purple speed traps as Mitchell again. The Marshal's done a good job of the design of that tyre stack. There's a bit that juts out to trick your eye, and it does flap away. But if you hit that solid part, it will destroy the car. On board with Sandy Mitchell, traction looking good. Very little traction control intervention. The V10 giving all 550 horsepower to the rear tyres without any intervention. The rear traction really strong, and out the last corner as well, still no traction control. What's he got? Is he taking the checker flag? He was really tight. I think he might have just snuck another lap on our timing screen, but I don't think he's going to be able to improve by the looks of his last couple of laps. You can see Tom Gamble as well boxing there. I think most of these pros have overworked their tyres. Checker flag now falling to everyone crossing the line.
But Sandy Mitchell did escape, so if the life is there in the rubber, he might be able to have one last roll of the dice. Adam Smalley pitted, Tom Gamble pitted, Lewis Plato pitted. This is Jessica Hawkins in for Andrew Howard. She's slowest at the moment within the aggregated times. It's been a tough season for Jessica. They've missed a round as well, so the Aston Martin ambassador heading now up towards Goddard. But in terms of the best of the Aston Martins, it's actually Josh Rowledge for Matt Topham, just ahead of Johnny Adam. Is Jessica Hawkins going to improve from last in GT3, which is where that car sits? The answer is no.
No, but interestingly, it does get her within a second of pole. So the whole top 16 with Hawkins in 16th, covered by a second, which again in pretty tricky conditions shows you how competitive this championship is. And with the pros, how hard it is to make a difference if your AM hasn't done a good quali one.
Sam Neary, personal best, absolute best on this lap. And it's his last chance. I think he's going to be very nearly the last man to take the flag, only another couple of cars behind. So he comes then now up towards the timing line, and Sam Neary, 14th on aggregate, comes up towards the line, breaks the beam, stays 14th on aggregate, but not for the want of trying.
Yeah, goes second in this session, only a tenth and a half off, so really climbed the car up. But he just illustrate my point, if Quali 1 isn't good with the AM, doesn't matter how good you are.
And Alex Martin, Sandy Mitchell's car, heads for the pit lane. Sandy Mitchell at the wheel of it, so that bails. It hadn't taken the flag on the track, takes the flag in the pit lane instead. So that's everybody at the end of Q2, and this then the combined order with the Collards ahead by 36 thousandths from Maxi Goetz and Kevin Say. Third, Sandy Mitchell and Alex Martin. From Callum McLeod and Mike Price. Max Hesser with John Ferguson are fifth, and then Josh Rowledge, Matt Topham, the best of the Aston pilots, sixth. Johnny Adam and Giacomo Petrobelli next from Adam Smalley and Sean Ball. Marcus Klassen with Morgan Tilbrook ninth. Tom Gamble and Mark Radcliffe round out the top 10. And just to confirm that the top Silver AM combination, the grading of the drivers, Josh Rowledge and Matt Topham, and they net sixth overall. So that's GT3 done. There's a very happy Rob Collard, all smiles. And next, it will be GT4 that takes to the circuit. But a job well done by the Barwell team. But dare one say they are the benchmark team these days, and especially around here. There's just something about Donington, Barwell, Lamborghini, it all knits together beautifully. Yeah,
they just seem to always win, but that slow-mo you can see on the front left corner, the bit of rubber has been really, really hard for them.
Let's hear from the Collards with Bryn.
Well, Rob, you just said to me, have we definitely got it? And you've got it, well done.
Really, really pleased. I actually thought I was slipping away from my sen, actually, because I think Ricky was dropped to fifth in the times, because as the track was drying out, some of the other cars were getting quicker. So fantastic job by him, though. He was only 2 tenths off. I managed to get a tenth and a half in my session. So combined with P1, and I'm so happy for Barwell Motorsport.
It's great for you in your championship, and we look at the championship so close between you and your stablemates here at Barwell, so it's going to go down to the wire, this one.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, we've got a 15-second time penalty tomorrow, so my ultimate now is to try and break away in the race. Hopefully, I don't know what the conditions are going to be like tomorrow. I'd quite like it to be damp, and like it was this morning. I think we were stronger when it was mixed conditions, slightly wet, slightly dry. So we're praying tonight for the rain gods to put some water down.
I'm sure you will. Just before I hand back to you, Adders, well done to you there, Rob. Just very quickly hand it back to you, Adders. Just news for you. Adam Smalley and Sean Ball had a rear right puncture. That was the problem with their car.
Well done, Brent. Thanks very much for that. So that answers why that car bailed early. Just finishing off GT3, 4 lap times disallowed by Sam Neary's session alone. So that car just illustrating the point of how, as we mentioned earlier on, you cannot afford to be making mistakes. You have a limited amount of time as the road dries, and therefore the drivers take a few more chances and a few more liberties. Track limits becoming more of a factor in the second part of GT3. Right, we're back in business. GT4 now, a little bit slower, Joe, but no less competitive.
No, really not. And again, like I always say, these cars have less downforce, so the cars move around more, harder for the drivers in a lot of aspects to hustle these cars on. You can see the Mustang, the BMW, and the Mercedes are also different in their sizes, and they've all got to try and make the same lap time. The BOP this year has been so good, and I really don't think we've had a standout car that has run away from it, and that's why the championship is still so tight. The Mustang, really that grunt and go car. We saw it at Snetterton last time out, slow in the corners, fast in the straight, but the lap time adds up to be the same. It doesn't matter how you make it up almost.
And then, having gone so well at Snetterton, a week later, or under a week later, it came within a lap or so of winning in the GT4 European Series, and was on the pace in the second race the day after. Didn't have a win in either, but oh so close. So really did look a competitive car, which sets them up nicely for Monza. This too is a car to watch. Mikey Porter and Jamie Day's Aston Martin. So everybody pouring out onto the circuit and exploring initially just how much grip there is and where there is grip.
Yep, team champions now, Fassetti first year in the championship, first year for the Aston Martin Evo Vantage GT4 as well. Porter chucking it into one there. The drivers swing out to pit exit to try and open the corner up, but it does almost mean you're facing the wrong way for Redgate turn 1. So I wonder if they'll be flat all the way through Hollywood into Craners. You can see these GT4s slightly higher, slightly heavier, so the body roll is more pronounced. It really shows you the dynamics of the vehicles, the weight's going on. You can see Porter's white gloves through the window there, soaring away on the wheel on the exit of the old hairpin. There is a track limit sensor there, so the drivers will be trying to stay away. There's also a track limit sensor here on the exit of Coppice. It's just embedded in the green tarmac, which he looks like he just missed. I think that was the one that Sam Neary was tripping all the time. Over the hill into Coppice, blind exit and a long, long right. Front left tyre always goes off there. Horrible corner at the end of qualifying. The only real chance of a real break in the mid part of this lap is on the back straight. You are picking out your braking point for the chicane, and you've got to chuck it left, chuck it right. Almost a Scandinavian flick at the moment with the tyre stacks. Slightly underdriven there from Mikey Porsche, in my opinion. We saw Sandy Mitchell hustle it through there. Maybe he's just getting his eye in, but he's got great track position. Car diving under the brakes into the Melbourne hairpin. Late apex, open up the wheel, squeeze the throttle on, not laying any rubber down, so he's nice and smooth into the last corner. Looks like he's had a pretty good, tidy lap. Be interesting to see if he can improve on this. A lot of drivers like to get a banker lap in and then start to push, but that's the opposite to what the tyre wants. The tyre wants to go early and then it drops off.
A 1:35.1 then is Mikey Porter's first effort at a flying lap. Behind him is Mark Warren, a very quick am in his first year of GT racing, up from the Porsche Sprint Challenge, the Cayman Series of last year. He goes second. You've got Charles Dawson, who's also been mighty impressive this year in GT4. He goes third at the end of his first flying lap. And Jack Brown, one of the real stars of the GT4 category, ex-Ferrari Challenge racer, he's on a mission as well.
Yeah, and still feel like they've got unfinished business from last year. The championship slipped away from them so dramatically. They're obviously leading the championship again this year, and that's what I mean when I watched Porter. You could see Brown was hustling on more through there, more energy in the car, got to be more speed, and he's on 2 purple sectors, so he's really trying to extract the best out of this Pirelli DHF tyre. Can he open up the steering and get it out? Looks good there as well. Surprised we're not seeing more rubber laid down. The drivers may be being controlled with their right foot at the moment, trying to prolong the life of that rear tyre. So it's the rear tyre that drops off first normally, because all of the energy is going for it. All of these cars obviously rear-wheel drive, so they're having to deal with all of that. Jack Brown, P1, 34.2, sorry.
This is Harry George aboard number 17 Mercedes. Car out of the Ram Racing stable, similar livery to the BMW from GT3. So Jack Brown the fastest then, provisionally by a 10th now from Aston Miller, who goes up to second in the Ginetta. Lots of variety in GT4, and over the timing line up to 4th quickest goes Harry George, 1:35.7. There's the first of the 2 Grunt and Go Mustangs. Will Moore at the wheel of it, number 62. Carl sporting this Licky Molly livery since Snetterton onwards. Matt Nicol-Jones, of course, player manager, drives one. It's his team, Academy Motorsport. They look great and they sound fantastic.
Yeah, in the car and out of the car, they're so obnoxiously loud, aren't they? And I think it suits the drivers well in that regard. I think they are getting better and better. A new car looks similar, doesn't it, to the car last year? You can see how much Will Moore has caught Ian Duggan in that last sector, flashing the lights in vain, hoping he can get on his way. Otherwise, his lap is compromised before it's even started into turn number 1. But yeah, this new car, Academy, just getting on top of it. Slow-mo, showing that energy, that sort of Scandinavian flick. You can see the rubber laying down, and that is Will Moore to a T. Became a father 2 days ago. You wouldn't tell in his driving, would you?
So he manages to survive the rather ragged moment through the S's. That super slow-mo shot, great for us. Engineers hate it, but it's really great to see just how much energy, how much force goes through the components, the tyres. Here, in the meantime, making the run now down to the Melbourne hairpin, Callum Davis with his McLaren. 19 cars we have in the GT4 category. Would have been 20. We've lost the Toyota, sadly, in the last few days, so it slightly affects the variety on track, but McLaren represented well in terms of numbers. Right, already we're down to just over 3.5 minutes as Marco Signoretti is on a mission in the first sector and the other Academy Mustang.
Yeah, we haven't seen a change in the top 3, have we, since the first lap? Brown, Miller, Porter, Davis in that Arturio just watching there is 4th, George in 5th. no one really seems to be able to go, but at the moment Signoretti on that purple sector, green sector 2, can he keep pushing as that traffic in front of him, the Porsche came and held him up? I would say yes, but he has got time to keep going. The tyres hanging on a little bit, but no one really doing a big improvement. It's almost like the track's getting a little bit better as the tyres getting a little bit worse, almost in a perfect synchrony.
Whereas in GT3 there is a discernible pro-am format to it. It's a little bit harder to say that for GT4 because a lot of the partnerships are silver-silver, so two young guns, two very quick young drivers, and even in the case of the pro-ams or the silver ams within GT4, the am is an am plus.
Yeah, there's a lot of shiny bronzes in GT4 this year, and that's great. They're proper bronzes and they deserve to be, but yeah, Warren in that Aston Martin, Charles Dawson in the Parker Mercedes, Ravi Rammeed is getting quicker and quicker in the Century BMW, so a lot of these guys are really upping it, and there's just that difference in the BOP between silver and Pro-Am. They carry less weight, they have less pit stop time, so it is a really interesting dynamic, how they keep it fair, but who is it fairer for? And if your am is quick, I would rather be in a Pro-Am car, that's for sure.
This is Mark Warren, who is one of those quick AMs. He's dropped down the order to 8th now, but should be able to fight back, I would have thought, on this lap. And we've got a lap time being taken away from Ian Goff's BMW, 11th fastest for exceeding track limit. So that's always proof that the road is drying out, isn't it? Because drivers push harder and prepared to use the curbs a bit more. Mark Warren goes through and is still 8th.
Yeah, improves his lap time, 8/10 off pole. He obviously feels like that was probably his best lap because you see him keep it dead straight out the last corner, shortest distance to the line, so he compromise his next lap. So if that is all you've got, then you might as well take the few hundredths in the pocket. There is Ravi Rammeed I was talking about, fast and first year in British GT, done a lot of Ginetta racing, has really come on, had a huge accident at Spa at Eau Rouge, which caused him to miss that race, but he's come back with a less of a metaphoric bang, but with pace being up there, I think he'll be happy with 10th. Charlie Robinson has been quick as teammate, so they might be able to do something from that position, but he will want to keep pushing on. You can see the Breakall Mercedes struggling a bit at the moment in 19th, 4 seconds off the pace. Not quite as tightly packed as GT3 as we saw earlier.
Mikey Porter still pushing on as well to try and get up from 3rd, and with 2 personal bests on this lap, there's a chance of improving, and there's also a chance of one more lap because the Aston should be able to squeeze through before the flag comes out, shouldn't it? Yeah,
anyone in sector 3 now has definitely got time. 38 seconds is that sector, and that's the time we've got remaining. It just looks like he's compromised his chance on the last lap with the traffic in front. We'll be getting a bit of dirty air. GT4's less affected by dirty air than the GT3s, but still, when you're just looking for that last couple of % on front end, especially high speed, the dirty air just means the car isn't flowing as the airflow would want, as the designers made it leave the factory. Will Moore still hustling on. Even under braking, the car looks low, which is quite impressive. I just listened to that noise. I just wanted to be quiet for a second. So much torque. He doesn't have to change gear all the time. They're able just to almost run longer ratios all the way through the box as the checker flag falls.
Mustang's been hit with an extra 20 kilos of weight under the BOP this weekend. A big slide from Will Moore as he heads towards the line and loses out in that last sector. Not surprising with all the opposite lock and the arm twirling that went on. So flag out at the end of Q3, or GT4 Q1 if you prefer. Jack Brown skims the tyres. He's the fastest already, but he's down in the sectors on this lap. Will he complete it, or will he bail early and therefore give a little bit more time to get Zach Meakin into the car? Yeah,
he'll make the decision out of this corner and have a live delta. We only get the sectors. He will know to the 100th if he's up or down, and if he's anything but a 10th good, I would box at the moment, just because you do want to get your teammate in, give the team a bit more time to get those tyres on. He feels he can improve. He's got to improve on a 34.2. He boxed so late. I actually looked at the timing screen because I was adamant he committed. He was close to the tyre wall. He's lucky there's no blend line here. There isn't a white line that you have to be to the side of. So he obviously looked at the delta out the last corner and went, actually, I want to pit.
Split-second decision. Very late call indeed, but he got away with that. Right, Mark Warren, I don't think he's going to be an improver. He may elect to end the lap in the pit lane rather than on the track, given that you can see it's not looking that flash, is it, as he comes out to the pit lane. Yes, so no real commitment out of the corner. And what that serves to do is to give the team a little bit more work, a little bit more time to work, I should say, a couple more minutes or so, because they don't have to worry about getting the car in after a slowing down lap. It's straight in. and so they need to turn around the car, and the driver for Q4 just makes life a bit less frantic by doing it with a lapped grace.
Yeah, the only thing I don't like with what they've done with the 90 cars, it came in so hot, the brakes will be almost over temperature, and a chance to cool down. It is the hardest track the British GT go to on brakes, so the Zach Meakin there will just have to make sure he's not got his foot on the brake. Very easy to warp the brakes when they're that hot.
Number 90, Jack Brown, who is the fastest, is going to be investigated after the session for his pit lane entry. We'll get back to you on this. Aston Miller, second, ahead of Mikey Porter and Marco Signoretti. Charles Dawson, fifth, from Harry George. Then Callum Davis with Mark Warren, Raviel Amid and Will Moore next. Then it's Ian Goff ahead of Bal Sidhu in the return of the Porsche Cayman. Hurrah. Stephen Lake in the quicker of the two Lotuses next from Ed McDermott. Then Colin White with Tim Docker, Ian Duggan. Newcomer John Curry, new to British GT. And then James Breckle rounding out the 19. But, as I say, number 90 under investigation for that late dive into the pit lane. That's a silver entry. The best in Pro-Am, Charles Dawson's time. Seb Morris takes the car over for the final bit of qualifying. So Jack Brown can talk about that time. He can also talk about the pit lane entry. He can talk to Bryn Lucas.
Well, Jack, a great session for you. You look a bit low at the moment in emotions. Is that because you know there's an investigation pending?
I'm not sure, mate. I didn't know that, actually, so first I've heard of it.
It was just your neutral face then. Okay, so there's an investigation pending for your pit entry, but talk us through the session as well, because you had quite a lot of pace out there.
Yeah, I mean, it felt good. Yeah, car felt good. Nothing to complain about, really. Just need Zach to go out there and do a good job. So
you've been in this situation a couple of times in your career, in recent years as well, particularly in British GT, where you've been so close to the championship. We're in the penultimate race now, so your nerves must be just on by a thread at the moment. Yeah,
I mean, I've learned not to get too excited at this point, so just need to keep it clean, as I always say, let the team do their thing, drive consistently, and we'll usually be okay. So
50% done, well done.
Yeah, thank you very much, guys. Cheers.
I think it is fair to say he's done a very good job of not getting too excited.
Yeah, I think Bryn, let's have a look. So I looked away at this point because he looked so committed. So he crosses that solid white line, but
it's the red, isn't it?
It's almost the track limit warning rather than the pit entry line. It's almost not illegal, it's immoral. It's like ordering a pizza on a night out and getting in with the pizza driver to take you home rather than buying a taxi.
That's one way of looking at it. I was going to offer you that last-minute decision on the motorway slip road and you go across the chevrons. You shouldn't do it, but nobody kind of suffered as a result. But, yes, I can see why it's being looked at. Whether anything will come, we'll let you know. We're on air for the warm-up tomorrow morning. So the news, if it's not already on social media and on the British GT website, we'll let you know tomorrow. But Jack Brown, the fastest in that session. But, as you've just seen, playing it down remarkably well. Right, the queue of cars is forming. And again, touched on it in GT3 terms. What do? Track position, get at the front, or try and keep the tyres warm and go out a bit later?
Yeah, I think now the track's drying, it's less critical to get super hot tyres on the Donington tarmac. But you do have 3 more cars in GT4 than GT3, so it is a little bit tighter, and I think that's why we're seeing that's got to be at least 9 to 10 cars queuing there. The Fassetti cars with the best track position out straight away. Day followed by Orton. Then we got Tom Holland in that Ginetta, followed by Matt Cowley, British GT champion-elect, out in the paddock Mercedes, as we see that provisional with a capital P, I think, pole position for Jack Brown, handing over to Zach Meakin now for the last part of qualifying.
Yeah, all the driver can do, Zach Meakin, is his absolute best. That Damocletian investigation hangs over the car, but whether it's to lose the lap time, if it's deemed to have done anything wrong, whether it's a grid drop, whether there is even a case to answer, we'll find out. Peter Daly, the race director, will have a look at it and make a call accordingly. And of course, the team, if they don't like an outcome, can appeal it to the stewards. So there is the car that's currently the quickest in GT4, biding its time. Now it's released.
Yep, second to last car to leave. We cut perfect time in there to the traffic that is ensuing, everyone jostling for position. It's almost like the most aggressive part of the weekend. You're out lapping quality, you're kind of bullying. You see it in the velodrome, don't you, in the Olympics? They kind of pin each other up to the wall, and that's what you kind of want to feel like you want to do to everyone around you, because you're the most important person there, but everyone doesn't always agree with it, annoyingly. No, you neither. Okay, that's fine.
That's fine. Yeah.
the best thing is Jamie Day has got some space, but I mean, those 5 cars are so bunched up, they're all compromising each other. And what I like that Gordy Much is doing in the 20 Lotus is he's the last guy, but he goes as fast as anyone to bunch them all up, and then the last minute he will check up and create his own space and try and stop everyone else puffing out like a massive accordion and taking the wind out of his sails.
Gordy Much is the one with this much trailed inability to work out which side of the car he sits on. There's this great bit of footage from the Donington race here earlier on in the season where the car comes in, Gordy rushes round to the right-hand side ready to jump on board and realises that it's left-hand drive and has to run all the way back round again, and somewhat red-faced jumps on board. Reigning champion Matt Cowley takes over Ed McDermott's Mercedes. They've had a really tough season, and a bit of good fortune surely can't be far away.
Yeah, I mean, terrible season if you're being brutal about it. Jumping into the Mercedes, a car that's been super reliable and fast for many years in the GT4 category around the world, and they just haven't had any luck with it whatsoever. Had a very odd penalty, didn't they, last time out at Snetterton? They were in the race lead and almost caught us all blindsided of how they did it, and they did it by being over 30 seconds too fast in the pit stop, which great for strategy, bad once you attract the penalty that comes with it naturally.
Matt Nicol-Jones looking good in Sector 1 at the moment. Matt Cowley, who made a name for himself initially in Formula Ford racing, the man from the Oldham, Rochdale area of Greater Manchester, raced in Formula Ford 1600, had a go in GT4 European Series, but the quick Northwestern driver coming now down towards the Melbourne hairpin and gets back onto the power, now drags the car out the other side up the climb and then heads towards the left-hander of Goddard with 7 minutes of the session to go. And remember again that GT3 will start ahead of GT4 on the grid, so we're aggregating these times against those that we've just seen to determine the second bit of the grid, the second portion of the grid for tomorrow's 2-hour race.
Yeah, Cowley 34.4 there, Jamie Day down to a lower 34.4. Very tight with everyone that's come across the line, within a few tenths of each other at the moment. So interesting to see what everyone could do. Gordy Much, where's that car going to be in the session? Only P6 at the moment. There is Matt Nicol-Jones, purple in Sector 1. Obviously a green Sector 2 because it's his first lap, purple Sector 3, and in session goes fastest overall in a 34.1.
Over the timing line then goes the Nathan Harrison Lotus that was quick in the pre-qualifying session. That's Seb Morris, who's won the GT3 crown in the past. He wants to be the second driver after Rick Parfitt to win GT3 and GT4. And third now, number 31 on the aggregated time. Charlie Robertson has put Ravi Ramneed's BMW up to fourth. Freddie Tomlinson's Ginetta goes up to second. Eric Evans' Mustang goes up to fifth. And there is the Porsche Cayman. Josh Steed at the wheel of it. And really the first we've seen of a Cayman all year, isn't it? It's been conspicuous by its absence.
Yeah, we haven't seen much of it in this session because he's fast. He's second fastest in this session. Only a 10th off pole from Matt Nicol-Jones in this session, not combined. That's where we get a bit caught up. That car is still 12th overall when you combine the times. But Josh Steed, super fast in this Cayman. It's a car that was fast in British GT, went away a little bit. Team Parker swapped to a McLaren, then to a Mercedes. So we haven't seen one for a little while, but Matt Nicol-Jones on the time screen, they're still pushing on well.
And yet the Caymans in GT4 European Series are prolific and very quick and reliable. They just seem to have had a whole heap of bad fortune in the UK. Over the timing line goes Josh Steed, 12th on the aggregate. And see behind what Matt Nicol-Jones is going to be able to do. Well, he's slightly impeded by the Audi, is he not? Because Jordan Albert, who's a quick driver, is just in the wrong place at the wrong time as far as M&J is concerned. Up towards the timing line now comes the grunt and go forward, and fourth Matt Nicol-Jones stays. Jordan Albert 14th in the Audi, which is another brand which is really good to have on the grid.
Yeah, Matt Nicol-Jones getting that car at fourth overall in the combined session. Pole at the moment by over 2 tenths. Teammate on the left there, Wilmore, hasn't put his cap on the right way, but I think he'll still be learning that. As we go to Tomlinson, obviously now got a chance to really be a cat amongst the pigeons, because they're not in a championship hunt, but that car is fast, and the DTO team have got on top of it super quickly.
Another car to keep an eye on is number 30 Mercedes, Phil Quaife, sharing that car this weekend, which is new to the championship, him with John Curry, as you see there going through Jordan Albert in the Audi. So now with clear track space around him, Jordan Albert underfunded but quick driver. Good to have him back on a British GT grid. Comes now down towards the S's and into the braking zone, flicks through the left and the right, as the day goes on, the Essex looks more like a war zone, doesn't it? More bits of debris, more bits of car lie on the road, and we've still got another at least 3 races to go this afternoon.
Yeah, and every bit of debris you see is most probably carbon fibre, and most probably has an extra 2 zeros on the price than what you think it should cost as well. So those tyre stacks are providing a great Christmas party fun for all of these manufacturers and the parts they're selling. Albert, in this sole R8 that we've got on the grid in GT4, what's he going to be able to do? Currently 15th overall, stays there, but does improve his time going back to Donington in this Ginetta. Got the Evo there. You can see the brakes glowing on that Ginetta on the front axle, chasing down Charlie Robinson, who fired him off at Snetterton, former employee of Ginetta. So there's plenty of spice there. You can again see that front brake disc glowing. The Ginetta relatively heavy because of the balance of performance. They do put a load of lead in it to try and do the right lap time. 34.3. That is a good job by Thompson, 6th in this session for his time.
Right, Zach Meakin in the car that was quickest in Q1 up towards the line, but he's down in sectors 1 and 2. I was talking about Phil Quaife a moment ago, and he is still down in 18th within the times, and a man to keep an eye on to see what progress can be made. Ian Curry, I think his co-driver should be addressed as, not John. Apologies. Ian Curry, who is having his first British GT outing for Team Parker Racing, and after some testing a week or 2 ago, mates with Phil Keane, who he drives with in the GT Cup. Phil Keane otherwise engaged, so the word was put about they need a quick co-driver. Keane suggests Quaife, and that's how the deal was done. Tom Holland in the Ginetta you're looking at. He's looking good, 14th on aggregate, but 2 greens, 2 improvements. Should stand in better stead. Bit of a wobble, though, coming up towards the left of Goddard's. Let's get him across the timing line as Matt Cowley pits out of 13th with 1 minute and 3/4 to go. Tom Holland 14th becomes 14th.
Yeah, I'm a little worried of this Ginetta, how much the front brakes are glowing and relatively low ambient. I said earlier that Donington is the hardest track that we go to this season on brakes. See quite a few cars pitting in the background, Day and Cowley. Cowley's done a mega job after saying they've had a tough season. 5th in this session. He's the fastest Mercedes. We've seen a very dominant Seb Morris, haven't we, at times this year in another Mercedes from Parker, but at the moment Cowley is the quickest in this session. 13th overall for Matt Cowley, and 6th in Pro-Am. So that's almost the best showing we've seen from Gordy Much. Is getting held up a bit by Phil Quaife, isn't he? I wonder if he thinks he should back out of this, but I don't think he would have time to do another session. Damage on the front. Was that Quaife that did that, or was that Curry in a hurry in session 1? It's hard to know who exactly. I'm sure they'll work out for who's got to pay for it, that's for sure.
Yeah, Phil Quaife, if it's not down to him, then the finger can be pointed, you weren't trying hard enough, so he might claim it was him. Gordy Much, we know how quick he is in the Lotus. Good to have Lotus back on a GT grid. We've got 40 seconds now remaining within the session, so these drivers might just be able to squeeze through, but it's going to be touch and go, or much and go in the context of the Lotus. You can see all the debris lying around the road as down towards the Melbourne hairpin goes Gordy Much now. So his number 7, Jamie Day, on aggregate the fastest, and he's brought the car to the pits, and so was Zach Meakin to be 2nd. So any shuffling of the order is going to be lower down, but there are relatively few greens, certainly no purples in the sectors, almost as though the tyres have done their best.
Yeah, and I think now we're seeing the track evolve less. It's in a good state. It's almost at optimum now. Offline's still a little wet, but the racing line looks good. Are they going to take the flag? I think not. Maybe even the 29th Century car will sneak through. You'll see a checkered flag logo appear on the timing screen for cars that are taking the checkered flag, but I think all of them are on a lap. I am hearing as well there's spots of rain out there, so maybe those conditions have turned. Tyres dropping off, cars are now bailing to the pit lane. I think this car will be relatively happy. 2nd overall on the aggregate, only by 2 thousandths, but that investigation looming.
Does indeed. This is Josh Steed looking quick for the Porsche squad, as up towards the right-hander of Coppice comes the Zentech Motorsport entry. Seb Morris, by the way, as he took the flag, did an absolute best in the last sector. He did a purple in the last sector to be 7th on aggregate. Wiper on, interestingly, just confirming about the spots of rain. So again, Josh Steed will look at the live data, but he's down in sectors 1 and 2, may well therefore decide that it's not really worth finishing the lap. Sai Sanjay has completed the lap in his McLaren and gone up to 10th. Porsche down towards the Melbourne hairpin, and Josh Steed now will make a call as to just how hard he's going to push with really 1 corner to go. And we're still getting cars losing lap times for track limits, including the Will Orton Aston last time. And I think looking at that, Steed's for the pits.
Yeah, and Orton is Pro-Am pole position, 4th overall, only 6/10 off. I think tomorrow they're in a really strong position as that Pro-Am car. Less penalty in the pit stops, less weight. Again, less weight is better for the brakes. Everyone is just backing off. They may use these tyres in the race, so they will stay on the racing line to keep the tyres clean, not get any debris, any cuts in them. There is a set amount, but yeah, the windscreen wipers coming on, like you alluded to, David. So we were pretty lucky with the 4 sessions we got.
Absolutely.
I think it was just about dry enough at the start and just about dry enough at the end.
Yes, we talk about a pit stop window. We had a weather window, didn't we, for qualifying? It just slotted in either side of the rain. Right, cars to the pit lane. This is the provisional combined order with Jamie Day and Mikey Porter ahead of Zach Meakin and Jack Brown, Freddie Tomlinson and Aston Miller next. Will Orton and Mark Warren 4th, from Matt Nicol-Jones and Will Moore, and then the sister Mustang of Eric Evans, Marco Signoretti 6th. The top 10 rounded out by the Seb Morris, Charles Dawson Mercedes, 8th Luca Hopkinson and Harry George's Mercedes, BMW 9th, Charlie Robertson and Ravi Ramid, and then Sai Sanjay and Callum Davis round out the top 10. So Jamie Day, Mikey Porter, top the times. Let's rejoin Bryn.
Well, Mikey, when it comes down to the championship, you needed to be on the top step, or at least on the pole position for the race tomorrow.
Yeah, definitely. You know, we weren't really expecting that. Our car's not the best quali car, but yeah, it was very good for the championship. You know, being on pole's always the best.
You said to me you're hoping for rain. Why is that?
Just, I think our car performs a bit better in the rain, and it's more of a race car than a quali car. But yeah, you know, we'll just do the best job either way. You know, do our best.
This is the penultimate round, so you've got one more to go, as we know, after at Brands Hatch. How important is it that you go into the Brands Hatch round leading, or are you quite happy getting a 3rd here tomorrow?
Yeah, well, it's all kind of a playing game with the success penalties you get. But you know, we just have to take it race by race and do the best job we can every weekend. Can't have too much of a focus on the whole championship point of view.
Well done, well done. We'll see what happens tomorrow. Well done.
Cheers, thank you.
So, well done, Jamie Day, Mikey Porter, pole position in GT4 for the Aston. And we shall see where we go in terms of that Dan McLeish investigation into the Jack Brown pit entry from earlier on. What it certainly does lend us is for 2 really good battles to look forward to tomorrow, one in GT3, one in GT4, and of course with a 2-hour race, there's an awful lot that will go on. There's only 1 pit stop under the regulation, so effectively it's 2 one-hour sprints bolted together. But around here, and if it is going to be wet, you never know what might be looming in the weather and what in turn that might do to the racing. Quick look at the highlights then of GT4 qualifying, with the Lotus making its way out onto the circuit. 47, Mark Warren's rapid Aston Martin, a car that was certainly good in its session and ultimately would be one of the big factors within the order as far as GT4 was concerned. So too Ginetta, so too McLaren, with Jack Brown having been the fastest provisionally in Q1. But ultimately, although the best time went to Matt Nicol-Jones, the aggregate to Aston Martin number 7, as Jamie Day and Mikey Porter brought the car to provisional pole position within GT4. So the GT4 element will go on the back of the grid behind GT3. 2 fierce fights to look forward to tomorrow, as the race is in isolation for the classes, but of course also the championship situation with only Brands Hatch to go after that. So join us for a race day at Donington tomorrow. We'll see you then.